Welcome to Madness Table, an ASMR podcast. Wait, no. A
No.
D&D actual play podcast.
Thank you.
But sometimes I just have to talk like this.
No, you don't.
But I've been told not to. But that's never stopped
Repeatedly.
me before. Yeah.
Our lawyers have instructed us not to talk in that manner.
There have been
only
investigations.
2 things to say. 1, if that's upsetting you, then you need to join our Discord and tell me to my face. Okay? That's right. If you have a problem with the way that I speak, you need to join our Discord and fight me, man to man, woman to man, non-binary person to man, or child to man. I'll take all comers. If that's not enough for you, you could give us a 5-star review. That would be great and would really stick it to me. If that's still not slake your lust for blood, come on down to the coffee page and give us lots of money, which will upset me greatly, because then I'll be working for you. I'm not sure how that works. Sam's the smart one. I'm here to clack rocks and make memes, and everything else is really transitory to that end. Anyway, thanks for coming on to the Madness Table. We do have a podcast, which I think should start maybe now. Now would be great.
Thank you, Andrew, for that once again absolutely stunning intro into our podcast. I can't thank you enough for taking on this monumental task and making it the best part of the episode. As a brief review last time, Starcaller passed.
Who?
In a
You monster.
Who the fuck? What? In a tragic and very preventable death. That's all I'm gonna say there.
Fair. Very, very fair.
But my bloodlust knows no bounds, so I take what I can get. You guys also managed to watch the demise of Delkvir at the hands of the River King, who they themselves looked pretty rough when they finally left the Isle, taking the body of Starcaller with them. And you all were kind of initially planning to grab a couple of treasures and run, but you took the time to very quickly vacuum up as much of Delkvir's hoard as possible, and then using Scylla's newfound device, decided to teleport to the Kingdom of Ember, with your focus from Sefel being on the tower in the ruins, as everybody remembers, where Sekarak was. And when you arrive, you are standing in this semi-open room, and the reason that it is semi-open is because one of the walls has crumbled, but from it you look out onto the larger city proper, with your view occasionally being obscured by a large floating piece of earth and ruin that continues to rotate around the tower. But you see quite a bit has changed. You see immediately at the foot of these ruins, amongst the old buildings and stalagmites, are all sorts of new fungal growth. You see new zirkwoods sprouting up. You see large croppings of various types of fungi, and moving up amongst them, you can see myconids moving about. A couple of larger ones milling and seething. You see them kind of doing that spore-like sway, the clouds kind of mixing in, but the perpetual fog that used to cling to this section of the city is now gone. It's quite tranquil looking. And as your eyes kind of drift out over the wall and into the rest of the city, quite a bit else has changed. The bug farms and fields where the goblins had been residing have now expanded. There's far more of them. The growths are clearly more abundant, and these zirkwoods and other fungi are spreading throughout the cavern at large. You see that there's far more houses. You see the smithies are rolling with their smoke billowing from the fires. You see more and more miners coming in and out of the tunnels. And you see the Coalfire Keep, where you had met with King Boletaire and Queen Griselda, and more. And you see that there are new constructions everywhere. A bit too far for you to see the exact happenings, but it is clear that the Kingdom of Ember is far more bustling with growth of all sorts. And Sefel, you recognize this room as this is the room where you had found Sekarak when you first entered his tower. You see behind you is that set of table and chairs with the chandelier up above, the old kind of chalkboards and calculations drawn on the back there. However, you don't see Sekarak here.
Yeah, remind me, in the solo session, when we left, or when I left, he was sick.
Yes, he had been wounded, and he was very afraid that it would be that it was a mortal wound, as there was a poison in it that he hadn't encountered before. And you remember descending from this room into the next floor, which was this large alchemical floor, essentially, where he had been conducting small amounts of experiments because most of his equipment and supplies had been destroyed. And then the bottom layer was kind of his treasure trove, all sorts of books and tomes and smaller magical items, and his large mound of cushions that he sat upon and revealed himself as an ancient deep dragon. And you got a better view of his large weeping wound, before kind of introducing you to Vlad and eventually saying, like, go, get to your friends. Don't worry about me.
Had he told me how he got that wound?
I don't believe so. I don't think that you guys had talked about it, but I'll have to go back and double check.
Okay, and I don't remember, and I don't have notes on it. I don't think so, but...
You didn't take notes?
I took notes. I don't have notes on the source of his wound.
So you must not have talked about it. Or you just didn't care about him. Do you hear that, Sekarak? Do you hear that? Brenda doesn't care about you.
Sorry, bro.
What's going through everybody's heads here?
Remind me, but Scylla didn't meet Sekarak.
Nope. You remember meeting a shadowy drow figure on the outskirts of the ruins. So the site that you're seeing now, this room, is completely foreign and new to you.
Yeah. But Sefel brought us here. Sefel, this is not the Kingdom of Ember I remember. Where are we?
You would have seen this place from the outside. This is Sekarak's tower.
Yeah. Sekarak, the one who assisted you in your new...
He was the one who sent me to Bligdenstone to aid you.
I see. He is not here.
No. He was wounded when I left him. I am a bit worried. Would you accompany me downstairs? I want to see if I can find him.
Of course. Lead the way.
And I'm going to start going down towards that alchemical room, the way that I remember.
Okay. You guys begin to turn around, and immediately Vlad has just, like, sprinted down the stairs.
Yeah.
Because this was his home for a short while. And as you guys begin to descend the staircase, Scylla, you are amazed at how large the lower room is. You are coming down these stairs and you see I forget, I feel like there's a technical term for it, but like these arrow slit like windows passing you, and that continue to look out into the city, and you're rotating down along the sides of this tower, and immediately in this large space you see large tables filled with beakers and glassware and essentially like Bunsen burner-esque stuff, and you actually see a handful. This is a surprise to both of you. A handful of myconids that are kind of moving about and moving various um, pieces of fungi. You see ones at like a mortar and pestle and crushing stuff up, and they're kind of like going about business, and their spores kind of puff out into the air, and you just hear these soft hello, hello, and these kind of sing-songy myconid voices. None of them you would particularly recognize, though.
Mm.
What are you all doing in here? Where is the owner of this tower?
The one closest to you that is moving and crushing some stuff in the mortar and pestle goes, "Oh, the Master Sekarak is down in the lower floors. I do believe I heard the small childlike figure run into him." And you can hear kind of echoing up from the staircase that continues down lower what sounds like deep laughter coming from below.
Well, that's good. Carry on, and I'll keep going down.
Now follow.
They just kind of nod to you. As you continue to descend down, you see, Sifel, that most of the damage, both to the alchemy floor and the main chamber as you descend, have been either largely repaired or replaced. And Scylla, what you're seeing is almost floor-to-ceiling tall bookcases that surround the entire vicinity. You see display cases, some of which are now empty, and then some have what look like broken remains of pottery and books or small artifacts of various makes and models. But in the center of this room is you see this very large mound of pillows and cushions. And in the middle is, you can see there's like this deep depression. However, you see a familiar drow looking figure who is currently kind of like holding and laughing with Vlad. And you can just see Vlad is like motor mouthing at Sekarak. And as you guys come down, your footsteps echo in this open space. Sekarak's face turns to you all and goes, "My dear friends, how wonderful it is to see you again." And he kind of looks at Vlad and he goes, "I will need to stand up so I can greet them." And Vlad lets go, and you see Sekarak reaches for a cane that he did not have previously, Sefel. And with it, he kind of hoists himself up, his hand kind of keeping close to that same side that you remember being wounded. And he climbs his way out of this very large mound of cushions and comes over to the both of you. "How are we, my friends?"
Well, we've seen trouble, as all do. It is good to see you are well. Or at least faring.
"I am certainly better. Your dear friend Stool and his companions from the Neverlight Grove have done wonders for my health. Some shrooms and fungal life that not even my own kind have managed to cultivate have succeeded in helping me with my wound in the poison that was infecting it. So I will be around for a bit longer yet."
I think Scylla is like looking between them, and then she looks at Sekarak. I am Scylla. I must confess, I have never met a friendly drow before.
Yes, I will admit our first greeting was rather, um, perhaps off-putting. I
Yes,
had certain
it,
demands and set you in the direction of a hag. Yes, but I do apologize. And he sticks out his hand for like a handshake with you. He goes, "Proper introductions. I am Sekarak."
yeah, she will shake his hand. Um, it would seem that your shadowy negative aura is no longer around you.
Yes, that was more of a facade than anything.
Mm.
I have a long-standing friendship with Sefel here, one that he doesn't quite remember. That goes back many, many years, and at the time when you first came here, I could tell something wasn't quite right, and that he was haunted by Orcus.
Hmm.
Therefore, I figured it best to keep the knowledge of myself and what I had a secret. I do apologize for that sincerely, and you are most welcome in my home anytime, and I do hope to be of greater assistance to you in the future.
That is nice to hear. Although it is quite sad, and she looks at Sefel, to hear that someone could forget what seems to be a friend. But
You must remember, Scylla, I've forgotten far more than friends. But
yes.
Sekarak has actually set in place. He's given me quite a few of my memories thus far, and I've been unraveling some of them myself in my time away, so
Hmm.
I must thank you again, friend, for starting that process.
But of course, happy to be of assistance. And it looks like you, and he kind of flicks up his cane and taps the top of your staff, and it just like opens up. He goes, "You have been rather busy."
Well, I had an Orcus to shed.
Well
Not an
done.
easy task. I'll tell you about it,
Sure.
but I'm sorry, I must, we recently lost a companion, and have been hit with the realization that we are too far over our heads. I think we must speak with the king and figure out next steps and rest. Perhaps we could speak later in greater detail.
Oh, but of course, I was a little nervous to ask about where your third companion was, and I'm certain to hear the tale later. But of course, you are more than welcome to speak with the King and Queen. I'm sure they will be quite happy with your arrival, amongst many others.
I believe we owe them some money first.
Yes, a debt. A debt is owed. I'm glad that you feel that you can pay for it. There are perhaps one or two individuals that won't be quite as happy that you've arrived again, but I think the
Who
rest of the
might that
city will
be?
be. Oh, well, the
That
Mr.
bitch Dwellin.
It is good
Sefel,
no
you
one
should
is
be.
around to hear you say that, Sefel, as the last time you called someone a bitch, well,
The last one I called a bitch was a dragon.
yes.
Oh, was it really? Yes, I could have told you. Not good tact there. But enough about that, please. And he kind of taps his staff against the floor, and you see in one of the slots where one of the bookshelves is, it rotates out, and the stones begin to kind of fold away, forming a doorway out into the larger room proper. Um, and he begins to walk that way, and he goes, "Perhaps I could share a bit of details as to what's changed within the city on our walk to meet the king and queen, or would you just like to meander your way there yourselves?"
No, please. It would be good to be briefed.
Yes.
Well, and as he kind of waves his arm out and you guys begin to follow him, you immediately are hit with the beautiful sense, wonderful sense of the new Myconid colony that has taken place up around the ruins here. It's far more colorful and vibrant, and the spores that are emitted from the many Myconids here fill you with this larger sense of like happiness. You can hear them singing in your heads. And he goes, well, since the Myconids migration here to the Kingdom of Ember, I took it upon myself to reveal who and what I am and my nature here within the ruin to the kingdom at large. And with that, I welcomed them into my corner of the kingdom, in a sort. My own powers and my presence now revealed, I can let them flourish as it's been helping the city with its newfound demand for food, and the fungal growths that seem to follow me have aided in the larger advancements and swift growths of all these circwoods, which have been quite helpful for the new developments within the city as well. I do believe your friend Stool is around here somewhere, unless he himself is attending to the king and queen. Basidia has been tending to one of the larger Zerkwoods, as you can see over there, and he points, and you can see this one particular Zerkwood has grown and blossomed even larger. And he goes, I was told of a great fungal tower that used to be within Neverlight Grove that Basidia had quite fallen under its spell, not that of the terrors that it held. I was told some of that. But she wished to carve out a home from within that the Myconids might call very particularly their own home, similar to my own tower. And as you guys are kind of walking about, you eventually reach the wall, which now has this kind of new archway that allows people to come and go, and you see there's a couple of kobold guards there that are shocked to see you, but they don't say anything, but you can see it on their expressions. Like, holy shit, that's them. And as you guys begin passing through the bug farms and this part of the city, you see that there's more goblins, there's far more kobolds in the area, and even some of the Myconids are tending to the fields, and they seem to be, the goblins and the Myconids are working together to kind of figure out how to get better yields and more nutrition. And Sekarak continues, unless any of you guys have questions. He goes, with all these new arrivals, some of which including some great wolves, not from Gracklestug, surprisingly, but from those that had either escaped months ago, or those that have been wandering the Underdark from smaller civilizations have slowly found their way here. They've begun helping in the mines and advancing the Dwelling's smithing techniques, though Gilda, Trilda, and Hilda have been a little adamant about how some things are done. And with more goblins appearing every day, your Myconid friends, the king and queen have found themselves forming a sort of home committee in which the heads of us all may come together and discuss any needs within the city proper, and those of the kingdom's wants and desires as well, which they might be perhaps meeting shortly. That would be perhaps the best way to reintroduce yourselves to everyone and make yourselves known. The Scale Guard is booming with all sorts of new recruits. I believe your friend Weth, Scylla, has made leaps and bounds in their training. She has taken to the curriculum quite well, taking on entire forces on her own, much in the style that she claims is similar to your own. Perhaps you'll have to speak with her later. Sir Laertes has been finding more and more means of finding routine sweeps outside of the city that have allowed for far greater security and safety, but also for the finding of new refugees displaced by the demon's incursion. And we are quite happy. It's surprising what the kobolds had here, and without any interference have managed to cultivate. I do believe the King and Queen have also summoned for the Society of Brilliance for their help in maintaining the peace here, but also for figuring out how exactly these demons have come to the Underdark, as this is clearly the greater problem that needs to be solved. Have either of you perhaps found anything leading to these particular details?
We've not found anything regarding the source, but we have seen the spread. I regret to bring information that this incursion has already had effects on the surface.
That is truly unfortunate, and something that will have to be dealt with, perhaps rather quickly. That, or we must find the source, hopefully soon, and put an end to it. That's something that we can all perhaps sit down and discuss together. And at this point, you guys are kind of walking past the Temple of Bahamut and coming close to the market. And I'm curious, because you guys know that this is where Beatrice's home is. And the last you knew, Sue was staying with her, but also you bear the horrible weight of Starcaller's fate. So, do you guys think that you would stop and speak with her, or is that something that you would hope to delay? What are your thoughts as you pass through this part of town?
I mean, Scylla would look at Beatrice's home and probably say something to Savell along the lines of, I remember that home as belonging to Starcaller's partner, Beatrice. And perhaps we should say something, however, I will not lie in that I do not wish to do so.
I think the news should certainly make it there. Perhaps we re-announce ourselves first, and then as we settle, we can attend to business such as that.
Agreed.
We'll break her heart at dinner.
What a time to do it.
The rolls smell delicious. By the way, your lover's dead.
Perhaps there will be a nice soup. Soup is soothing.
Soup does soothe some pains.
Could work.
Perhaps
I love
we
how
should bring
Scylla
some.
had it one time, and she's just like, soup. Soup is
Soup.
good.
And I
Do
don't.
it.
And it wasn't even good soup.
No.
Oh goodness.
Mediocre at best.
Yeah. She's like, this is the best thing I've ever had.
It would make me
It's
feel
like-
better if my
Yeah,
partner
when you're
died.
coming from like a raw fish, like a whole raw fish diet, like your first bad soup, you know, that Progresso chunky hits different.
It's hard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just have to say, being a Triton and growing up in the ocean, like she literally grew up in the soup. So it
That's
must
right.
be weird to boil it down into like a microcosm of a bowl. Like,
And
I
like,
don't know.
yeah.
Anyway,
Scylla's
we're-
just like, it's like breathing and eating at the same time.
besides the point, we're not gonna go tell the promiscuous kobold that her lover is dead.
But we
we'll
would
s-
like to thank our sponsors, Campbell's Chunky Soup. It's what keeps us
Yeah.
podcasting.
They're not sponsored. They wouldn't dream of it.
They should. They should. We can make soup a very prominent
Give
part.
me, give me
okay?
that soup money, baby.
That good
Uh,
soup money.
We're a little too chunky even for them. Anyway, let's
Ooh.
continue.
Yeah, I gotta work off them soup pounds. You know how they pack on.
Anyway, Sekarak, what else is going on, buddy?
Yeah.
I think you guys you pass by Beatrice's house,
Yeah.
and he tells you.
What if we're just
go ahead.
What if we're just super cryptic and shitty about it, and we just leave his broken sword haft on our doorstep?
Oh no. Oh, that's brutal.
Listen, I ain't there, but damn, dog.
Listen,
Come on.
I'm just saying conflict avoidance leads to some pretty shitty outcomes. Pick your battles.
That's weird. This is like the first time I've ever heard you talking about conflict avoidance.
Yeah, well, most of the time we don't have the choice, so if I don't have to choose another one, goals, brother.
All right,
We'll
we'll
circle back.
Starfather's death doesn't hold heavy on you.
Hey, we laugh through trauma here at the Madness table.
Yeah, put aside the pain and just chuckle. All right. So you guys, you press on through the city. You can see left and right, especially in this larger part of it, all new constructions, new houses, both stone and zirkwood being put up. You eventually pass by the large statue of Bahamut on your way to Coalfire Keep. And I need the both of you to make perception checks for me.
Oh no.
I got a nat 20.
Hell yeah. Nice.
I got a rock. I got 13.
Okay. Scylla, you at one point just happen to look down an alley and you see this hunched over figure with these kind of glowing red eyes make eye contact with you, and you realize it's Grumbles, and he realizes who you are and who you guys are walking as a group, and he just very quickly throws his cloak over his head and takes off down the corner and out of sight, just no.
Saval, it is the prophet, Grumbles.
Kill him! No.
Scylla will run down the alley after this man.
You're really gonna chase him down?
I didn't mean it.
I think she is running after him.
Okay.
What are we doing? Okay, Savel just starts following. Sorry, Sekarak.
Grumbles, wait.
I'm gonna need you to make 2 checks. I need you to make an athletics check, and I need you to. He's 60 feet away, and he just turned a corner, so he's out of sight.
Fuck.
He's about 60 feet away. I need you to roll a persuasion check and an athletics check.
Athletics,
Sam.
I got an 11, but my second check was another nat 20.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I picture. Scylla immediately just takes off after him, but is a little caught off guard because you were like, oh shit, Grumbles. And you take off and you turn the corner and you just run into a figure, and it's Grumbles, and he just gets thrown to the ground, and his he desperately grabs at his head, and he's like, no, my head. And then he looks at you and he goes, what do you want with me, witch?
I am not a witch. In fact, I would guess that you have more witch-like powers than I do. I simply wanted to talk to you about your prophetizing that you have done previously. Can I help you stand?
Don't touch me. Keep your hands away from me.
Of course. I will not touch you if that is what you wish. However, do you have perhaps more visions to share?
No, not with the likes of you. You tore my cap off last time.
Is it because you are wearing your cap?
I'm not saying anything.
Savel just meanders around the corner.
And he goes, oh, fuck! You too?
Hello, soothsayer.
I'm nothing but a humble beggar. Leave me alone.
Is this woman harassing you?
Both of you are. I will file a restraining order.
What does...
We don't follow laws.
That is
That's
not...
why. That's why we left.
Oh my god. None of this is entirely true, in my opinion. Grumbles, I do apologize for running into you and that you fell.
Yes, that hurt.
I apologize. However, you gave us a very intriguing prophecy that we require additional information. And as much as I would like to acquiesce to your request that we do not touch your cap, if that is the door into your visions, we need more information in order to save, well, your own life.
I don't remember of what I spoke when you removed my cap. That was long ago. The visions come and go. Just don't touch me.
Do you live around here?
What does that mean?
No.
Do you live anywhere?
No.
Would you like to live somewhere?
Why?
I thought perhaps we could make your life more comfortable, and then you may be more inclined to help us.
Roll a persuasion check. This
like
just got interesting.
What
I
if
got
we
a 15.
buy you a house?
I'm listening.
I value your magic and the visions which you see. And if you would be willing to perhaps perform those visions for me whenever I wanted, I would buy you your own home here in the Kingdom of Ember.
I don't just, like, put on a hula skirt and all of a sudden a prophecy comes to me. They're torturous. Do you know how many times people hunt me in the street and they're like, take off the cap, Grumbles, take it off. Tell me when I'm going to die. It's awful.
If we were to give you a house, you would have a door with locks, and people couldn't do that.
Yes,
But look
although
at
I
you.
would
You
want a
just
key.
said you don't listen to laws or personal boundaries. How can I trust you?
It would
Well,
be
you
part
can't.
of the deal.
We gave 2 different answers.
And that's very much off-putting. He's like,
Safel, perhaps this is... Perhaps you are not being helpful.
That's possible.
Safel would agree to not enter your home, yes, Safel?
I would. I have to say, I'm a little off-put. This is a far departure from where we were trying to go.
I understand. However, I believe that there is a lot of intelligence to be gathered from this individual.
he's kind of stroking his chin, and then he reaches into his robe and he goes, I tell you what, and he goes, hi-ya! And he throws down this little packet, and all of a sudden just a smoke bomb just billows out around you, and you just hear him like run off. And then you don't see him.
I can find him again, don't worry.
I do think there is value in him.
I don't disagree.
And I do not think he would require more than a shed.
You make a strong argument, but
Let's put him in the outhouse. Perfectly.
As an individual conflicted, who deals with both intelligence and magic, let's gather intelligence before we turn to magic.
That is what I was trying to do.
Sure.
I'm sorry to have derailed us. I will follow Sekarak. She to see if he's like watching.
Sekarak's just like turning down, like looking down the alley, like what the fuck?
No, he's just like, he's at the far end of the alley from where you guys had turned the corner, and he's just leaning against the side, and he goes, are you done speaking with the madman?
Mad, but perhaps invaluable.
Oh, I will admit he seems to be touched in some way by perhaps the gods or something else, but yes, he's an interesting
Touched is the
fellow.
proper word.
Yes. Indeed.
I believe in him.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I'm sure he would appreciate that if he heard that.
I felt Safel was touched in one way as well when I met him. I believe in Safel.
It's a fair point. I've been touched in multiple ways.
It's not.
I know.
It's not.
Well,
Onward.
yes, no,
Anyway.
keep.
Wow, we are
And
not serious for people that just watched a friend die 20 minutes ago.
nope.
Hey,
and-
everyone grieves in their own way. Shut your mouth, Sam. Everyone grieves in their own way.
Andrew, you're here?
Ooh, I am the ghost of Artemis
The
Starcaller.
ghost of the Star Caller.
I'm disappointed in you.
I would be too.
You've
Let's-
already learned this lesson. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh
my
boy.
gosh.
You can't put
We-
Grumbles in front of me and not expect me to do something with it.
That's true. It's
You
fair.
spotted him, so it's all fair game.
Hell yeah.
You guys proceed to Coalfire Keep, and as you come up to the gates, you see that there are a handful of guards. They recognize Sekarak, and they at first don't recognize the two of you, but then are very quickly like, oh my goodness. And so one opens up a smaller door within the larger pair that kind of make up the front, and within a couple minutes he comes back, and you see the two large doors swing open, and there you see King Volataire and Queen Griselda. And King Volataire comes forward and he goes, "My dear friends, what a pleasure it is to see you." And he like comes forward as if to like give you guys him to embrace the two of you. Do either of you accept that, or are you kind of like, hell no, man, don't touch?
I'll take it. Volataire was nothing but hospitable to
Yeah.
us, so I'll take it.
Scylla doesn't hug him back, but she doesn't refuse it.
Okay. He can kind of sense that feeling from you, so he it's kind of more of like a good pat to you, Scylla, but then embraces you, Safel, and he goes, "You are both greatly changed, I see. And where is my dear friend Starcaller? Is he hiding somewhere? Is this a trick of sorts?"
It is not a trick.
My
He is not
liege,
here.
it is with deep sorrow. With deep happiness we return to you, but with deep sorrow we must report the fall of Artemis Starcaller, Lion of the Underdark, sword that lights the darkness, pride, and son of Dimcairn.
And you immediately see that he is just crestfallen. And even, like, Queen Griselda gives, like, a small gasp, and she's like, "Oh, no. And the king, he goes, "Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry for the loss of you. And for the loss of our great friend."
He died
Is
most gloriously in... Aside from fighting a demon lord, one of the most glorious battles that he could have been a part of. I'm sure he had no regrets in his final moments.
That does indeed please me to hear, though sad as I am. Please, come in. Sakarak, of course, it is a pleasure to see you. We were going to be having a small committee meeting. It would be good to have your mind with us and our fresh companions, and we have new friends and old ones that I'm sure would be glad to see you both. and he leads you all in, and eventually you reach that familiar large chamber with the circular table in the middle. And from it, you see a few different individuals. You see a deep gnome. You see a older human man, standing a little ways off behind him. You see that there is a taller myconid that has a skull that kind of sits in the face-like region. And Sekarak goes and kind of takes a seat. You see that there's a couple missing, and the king kind of turns to you both and goes, "Unfortunately, Sir Laertes is away on patrol, but should be back soon. And the goblins have yet to vote a senior member for which to attend these meetings, but they will in time. However, I do believe that there is a friend here that requires no introduction." And like before he even finishes that sentence, like the chair falls back, and you see Stool stands up, and he's become a little bit taller, and he has far more of a larger mushroom cap, and he looks similar to Basidua, where before he was kind of more roly-poly. It's like his stock has elongated. He still has his very thick trunk like arms and legs, but he just kind of runs over to you both, and before you even know it, just like grabs you both in a bear hug. But his kind of softer voice comes through, and he goes, "It is so good to see you both.
Careful,
I missed
careful.
you so much."
Careful, Stool.
Hello, Stool.
He's like, "If I had lips with which to kiss, I would give you both a peck on the forehead."
And I would do my best to forgive you.
I know you would. And he puts you both down, but his like large hands and fingers are still like on your shoulders, and he goes, "I wish to know about all the adventures you had since last I saw you. You have to tell me." And the king is like, "I'm sure there will be much regaling of that later, Stool, but there are still some introductions to be made." And Stool's like, "Oh, yes, of course. Manners. You guys kind of taught me that." Kinda. And King Boletaire points to this older-looking deep gnome, and he goes, "This is Susuro Umbernut, part of the Society of Brilliance, and his traveling companion and butler, Ricard Bronte. And Andrew, would you like to introduce and describe your new character for us?"
I would love to, William.
Yes.
You see before you Susuru Umbernut, who is a deep gnome of about 3 foot 3 inches tall. He probably weighs 40 pounds soaking wet. And unusual for his kin, he has a long, curly white beard, but he has a typical, completely bald, deep gnome, like, skull. He is wearing, like, a tight-fitting, like, black, like, almost like a coverall, and a rather nice white cloak that has a little eye on the clasp.
The Society of Brilliance. I found myself searching for your kin not too long ago.
Yes, it is our great misfortune that we can't be everywhere that we wish to be in the Underdark. It is a dreadfully large place, isn't it?
It is. Well, I'm glad to see some of you have made your way to Dimcairn.
But of course, Dincan has long been a light in the darkness, so to speak.
Can I just say real quick here? I love how Susuro almost has a JFK like manner of speech. Great.
Yes.
Error.
And when we address you, should we call you Your Brilliance? Do you prefer Susuro, Mr. Umbernut?
Please. Mr. Umbernut
Mr.
was my
Nut.
father. You can call me Susuro.
I already know a Sue. Is it Susuro in its entirety?
I suppose so. If you already have a Sue, I've sometimes been Sue. I've been Seuss. I've been Susuro. It's really whatever suits your fancy, young lady.
It is nice to meet you.
Likewise, to meet the heroes that I've been regaled about for so long now.
That's not what many people thought of us when we left.
Oh, who hasn't committed a small amount of tax evasion? It's part of the life.
Is that what we did?
Among other
Essentially,
things.
yes.
Well, that, of course, is one infraction that we wish to correct in our time here. Your Grace, what is this proceeding for?
Well, we had found ourselves with the growing population and more frequently growing reports of demonic activity throughout the Underdark. We reached out to both the Society and other members of the communities that now live here in our fair kingdom to discuss possible means as to how to deal with this threat that plagues us. Sir Laertes has taken everything to heart that he can with the help of Weth and their incredible training and those left behind by our late friend, Starcaller. And, well, we hoped that perhaps those of the Society might have more information as to how these lords have arrived here and how we might truly strike back at them. We hadn't quite discussed it, but it seemed that perhaps the Society was not as close as we had hoped to an answer to that. Unless I'm much wrong in this, Mr. Amanat. I'm sorry, that was your father.
It is quite all right. Well, I must say, unfortunately, we are encountering a similar dearth of information, but I believe with our resources working in concert, we can create something of a block against these demonic forces. If we can suss out the source, we will be able to snip it out.
Well, this is good news. Do you have perhaps any idea of how to find this?
Are you speaking to us or Umbernut?
Huh?
Mr. Umbernaut, yes.
I happen to follow his clue, I'm afraid. It is the utmost priority, but without a larger scouting network, we find ourselves at a bit of a loss. As you see, so far, we have been isolated communities fighting off these incursions successfully and somewhat less than successfully over the past few months and years. But perhaps together, we will be able to pool our resources.
It is sad to hear that there is not more pertinent information as to the answer we seek. Sekarak, do you have any information? You've clearly been amongst the Underdark for far longer. Do you have any answers? And Sekarak has now kind of shakily taken a seat, kind of clutching at his side again. And Stool has, pulled out the chair and is pushing it back in for him. And Sekarak looks at all of you gathered around and he goes, "No, I'm afraid nothing is coming to mind at the immediate moment, other than either
some type of tear has occurred from which the abyss has been able to issue forth the demon lords, or someone of great and considerable power has summoned them, or a team of individuals have done so, though to do it is tantamount to suicide. Quite honestly, they are nothing but chaotic, though some, albeit very intelligent beings, are chaos incarnate, much like the abyss itself. So to summon one, you invite death to all those around you and yourself. So I'm not exactly certain who would do such a thing. Though I could perhaps ponder through my collection of notes, my library. I might perhaps have some clues as to where to look. That will, however, take some time. I'm sure I can recruit some help in that matter. Perhaps even in your own records, your own library, there might be something. And the king kind of nods and he goes, yes. Perhaps in the meantime, though, we will look into the more immediate tasks that we can handle, such as strengthening our bond amongst all new citizens and our own forces. But you, Scylla, Sefel, clearly some of these people have come here from your suggestions. Where have you been? What have you seen? What have you noticed? What can you tell us about the Underdark at large? What has been occurring? What have your travels revealed? What can we learn? What can we begin to do now to make certain of our survival?
Cephal is perhaps more eloquent than I.
It is true we've been to a few places, and we've fought off the demon incursion where we could. Although admittedly we've not been able to in all places. The arrival of the Myconids was from an exodus of our suggestion when we could not restore their grove. There seemed to be... we've run into... I believe I can count 5 or 6 separate demon lords, demon princes, whatever the terminology is that we've run into. I will say they seem largely disorganized. They do not seem to be working together. This does not seem to be a joint effort, merely multiple beings of immense chaos released in the same area. We unfortunately haven't been able to gain any information on their source, as we have perhaps wasted some of our time and effort trying to treat the symptoms instead of the disease. This was part of our reasoning for returning now.
If I may say as well, it seems as though these abyssal entities are focused on centers of highly populated areas. Any sort of town or city which we go to seems to have some sort of influence. And when we are even traveling between those cities, or perhaps that is only... What I'm thinking is we've run into multiple people who have put effort into bringing forth these entities. First, it was the Koatoa, their small lakeside village. Oh, I wasn't there for that. Just kidding. I think I heard
probably
that,
have
Yeah,
talked
we
about
would have
it,
told you
yeah.
about that.
Yeah. First, Cephal and their entities ran into the Koatoa, and then when we were in the in Gracklestug, there was also the story of the cultists in the Rollstone tunnels, which were attempting to pull forth an entity.
That's true.
And then there was the individual at Blingdingstone who had succumbed to certain forces and called forth his own entity.
And
Blingdenstone,
our own
you say?
late friend. Oh, sorry, sir.
I'm sorry. What of Blingdenstone?
We recently came from Blignenstone. We were probably there a few days ago. Maybe a week was when we left. They were under the influence of a man who had called himself the Pudding King. He was controlling a large army of oozes that had been granted to him by Jubilex. We were fortunately able to pool the forces of Blignenstone and defeat the Pudding King, though Jubilex's influence, I am unsure, is fully gone. But the Harbinger has been dealt with, at the very least.
The city itself was rather fractured. They had multiple factions who were not happy with one another, but the threat of imminent death did seem to pull them together.
There was a great deal of loss and even greater destruction, but I believe with time and with resources, they will be able to rebuild strong. They were able to sustain themselves another day.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it still stands. Shaky though it may well be.
Do you have connection to Blignenstone?
Yes, I originally hailed from Lincolnstone, though I have not been there for quite some time myself.
Oh.
I knew of the, shall we say, recolonization efforts after the Drow incursion of some century or so ago.
I would not go back.
I will take that under advisement.
I was there for a very short time. Perhaps I was only there for the worst of it, but Scylla and Artemis did a good deal of good there. But we return because although we may have only been able to scrabble together loose information and scattered victories so far, we believe it is time to pool the resources we have, bring together the communities that we have hopefully set in motion, and with some newfound resources, begin to tackle this problem head-on. We are fully ready to not only repay our debt, but fund a significant chunk of the training effort, the research, any excursions outward to gather information, launch full-scale investigations, and finally bring this issue to a close, if we can.
And with that, the king and queen kind of circle around the table and they kind of wave everybody to sit down. And as you all do, they both sit, and Queen Griselda speaks up and she goes, "Well then, let's talk." And that's where we'll leave it this week.
Wow, can you guys hear that? It's all the 5-star reviews hitting podcasting apps all over the world. And
Yes.
they're all for the Madness Table? Wow.
Oh, another one! Oh, another one!
Turn your volume, Sam. It's too much for you. It's too much.
I've never heard so
Power
many
me with
people
your
be
5-star
so wrong.
reviews.
Now, friends, if you're just having a great time, go ahead and drop us a review. You can also call Sam slight brain hemorrhaging. But,
No!
like, a manageable amount, hopefully. And if that's just not enough, maybe you can cause Will stomach discomfort through our coffee page, where you can drop a coin and see how things go. And
He might
if
breathe for you. Right
he
into the mic.
grieves for you. And heavily, I might add.
Yeah, I'm working
But
on my
hey,
ASMR, everybody.
You know,
ASMR.
if Brendan's more your vibe, you could always recommend the podcast to a friend. but do it really close to their ear. I mean, really close.
Yeah,
to
make
their
it
ear.
super uncomfortable. Like, if they want to be friends with you after, you weren't close enough.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Really next level stuff. And if you love all of us, pop on the Discord, say hi, send me memes. If you send me memes, I'll be happy. And if I'm happy, I'll keep making these rants as unhinged as possible, which is what everyone wants, I'm sure. Wow,
I'm sure.
what a great time for us to spend together. Let's hold hands and think about it. Good night.